Oris, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar. Our top topic of today's webinar is the secret to accelerating your business for maximum growth. I'm Boris Krepak, the business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host. Our webinar coordinator is Elliot Tarling, who is a SCORE business mentor as well. Our presenter today is Christopher Salem. More on Christopher in just a minute. The webinar is also co-sponsored by Darien Library. I would like to just give some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit organization with 320 offices and 11,000 volunteers nationwide. SCORE is affiliated with the Small Business Association. A little bit in facts on our Fairfield County SCORE chapter. We have about 130 plus volunteers with wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary value-added services to small business owners. One is free one-on-one counseling, face-to-face, telephone, email, video, which can be accessed via request mentor link on our website or via link on the screen. Now we currently are not doing face-to-face mentoring until further notice. We also offer educational workshops and webinars, about 150 sessions per year. We have extensive resources on our website, including a network of subject matters that at your disposal. Due to the national COVID-19 pandemic, we're in the process of converting some of our canceled in-person workshops to live webinars. A lot of the specifics are available on fairfieldcounty.score.org. If you have any questions, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It's located in the lower part of your screen. And our webinar will end at noon to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available at the fairfieldcounty.score.org within the next couple of days. Let me introduce now our speaker for today's webinar. Chris Salem is a life and business strategist and radio show host who has partnered with entrepreneurs, corporate executives, and sales professionals to create sustainable success at the next level. He has a successful career of 26 years as a senior sales executive. He shares from experience what has worked successfully for him via understanding the root cause behind the effects of limiting partners in our business and personally. He is a co-sponsor, co-authored Mastering of the Art of Success with Jack Canfield. And now it's my pleasure to present Chris Salem. Chris, this is all yours.
Thank you so much, Boris. Thank you for the warm introduction, and welcome everybody to The Secret to Accelerating Your Business for Maximum Growth, being sponsored by Darien Library and through Fairfield Score. What we're going to be talking about today with the secret of, accelerating your success is that you're going to learn here that it starts with you, not your business yourself. You're going to learn that it's not what you do or what your business does in itself, but why you do and why your business does to empower other people. So we're going to learn more about the why about yourself and your business and how this can help to accelerate that to another level. And you're also going to be learning some of the steps of how to become what we call a trusted advisor in your business. So it's not, again, what you do, but why you do it and how people connect with you and want to do business and then refer business to you through their sphere of influence and their network. You're also going to learn the importance of having a value statement in your business. So some of you might have a mission statement, a vision statement, a business plan. Some of you may not have any of that, and that's okay. But you could apply a value statement at any time, and we're going to talk about how you could go about doing that to help increase sales, to better connect with your core audience. So when we look at how to do accelerator success, we have to first look at what could be holding us back. See, anytime that you're going to have sustainable success at the next level and accelerating anything important to you, you have to address the problem before you can operate within the solution. And this is what we can do through what we call a growth mindset. Now, many individuals operate either from a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset is, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? And how is that impacting your personal life and your business? Is it affecting it in a good way? Or are you just kind of going through the motions? Or it's not working for you? This is where we have to address, if you are in a fixed mindset, how do we go about positioning ourselves to lead from a growth mindset? So let's take a look at some of the functions and duties of a growth mindset. So when you look at the functions, a growth mindset is simply learning how to be present, trusting the process, and allowing the outcomes or results that you seek to be a byproduct of that process. It's the ability to see things more clearer in the present moment so that when you have that clarity, you have the ability to be more decisive. And when you're decisive, you have the ability to take more action. And in that action, we're able to see opportunities or blessings, whatever you want to call it, disguised in any challenges that you're going through. So a growth mindset recognizes that we have to take calculated risks. We have to make mistakes. We maybe have to fail at certain things in order to move through the process to get to where we want to be. This is some of the keys to not only the growth mindset, but also to accelerating your success in why you do what you do. In terms of the duties, a growth mindset also helps to manage your self-talk. What is that self-talk that you're telling yourself? You're not telling other people, but it's the self-talk that you tell yourself. Is it one that you're limiting yourself? That you're saying that you're not capable of certain things, that you're not good enough? Now, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people that might be from the outside look like they have everything put together, but yet their own internal self-talk could be limiting them. This affects all of us. But the duties of a growth mindset recognizes that we don't need to operate from our inner critic, that we can actually operate from what I like to call the inner champion, that we can take certain risks or we can do certain things that play to our strengths, maybe in different situations to add value. And learning how to manage that self-talk in a way that we lead from the inner champion rather than the inner critic. The growth mindset has also the ability to regulate our emotions. Are we coming from negative emotions like anger, shame, guilt, jealousy, envy? You'd be surprised that a lot of these things that may be going on in your personal life are affecting your business. You might even realize it. But if we have the ability to now be present where fear cannot reside, we have the ability over time to be in the present moment, to experience more peace and joy, more calm energy, where we can be, again, more clear in our thinking, our decision-making, and taking action. And then the ability to also adapt and approve our belief system. Again, believing from our core values. If the core values being, if you have integrity, honesty, you're ethical, you are follow through on your word, those types of things, maybe strong family values, all of these types of things, that these beliefs that come from your true being play a big part in connecting subconsciously with your audience. Doesn't mean everyone's going to agree, but if they find some common ground, they're more likely to connect with you on those values, than just what you do in your business. And you'll see how this all comes into play when we get to the trusted advisor segment of today's talk. So what holds us back from success? So what holds us back from success is what we call limited beliefs. So again, I'm just going to briefly talk about this. We're not going to spend a lot of time, because this would normally be in a 3-hour workshop, but limited beliefs are things that go back to your childhood. And what I mean by this is, let's say you have a situation in your business that triggers some fear, like this is that you're taking on something that you feel like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know if I can do this. I've never done this before. I'm not capable of doing this. It's not that situation in itself that's causing the fear in itself. It triggers the fear, but it really goes deeper than that. It goes way back to your childhood, tied to limited beliefs, things that you picked up growing up through your parents. It could be particularly one parent. So I'll give you an example for me and how this impacted my business and me personally, in a negative way, until I was able to turn this around. See, when I was growing up, my father was not present. He was always off traveling, building his business. He grew up poor, and it was his mission to be successful. But there was sacrifices, and because of that, he was never really around. So I grew up more or less without having my father present. So I didn't have this direction. So this affected my level of self-esteem and confidence growing up as I became an adult. And because of this need for validation that I needed, I didn't know it at the time, I ended up engaging in certain business relationships, or got myself involved in certain situations in business in my personal life to reinforce this constant need for validation that would go unfulfilled. So these expectations that would never be filled to the level I desired. And because I lived my life from expectation, this led to codependent behavior and relationships that really did not allow me to grow professionally in my business, even though I had a great work ethic. So you can see how powerful limited beliefs can be. They can be very subtle, but they have an impact on how we relate to people, how we make decisions, how we take certain risks or not, following through, and if we allow ourselves to be busy but not productive, or procrastinate. All of these things go back to our childhood. So this is where they come from. So what do we do here? Well, again, this is something that we just, for this webinar today, is just to be aware of it. We want to be aware that limited beliefs established from childhood have an effect on your level of self-esteem and confidence. And as a result of this could be impacting you or holding you back in your business. Now, for some of you, this may be all new information, like, wow, I've never heard of this before. But I spent 20 years, and I'm a certified mindset facilitator. I'm an executive coach. I spent many years in my sales profession understanding people, learning to understand. And this was only after I learned to understand myself, because I couldn't give what I didn't have. And as I went through this process over 20 years ago and was able to move from limited beliefs to limitless beliefs, I began to really understand people even better and been able to then help them in this particular area. So this is something, again, that we want to be conscious of, that if we're not where we want to be in our business for whatever reason, that this could be something to look at, and from you, not your business itself, but you address, so you can make yourself, put yourself in a position that you can then propel your business to the next level. So what is mindfulness and the core steps to limitless beliefs? So mindfulness is a process that allows us to, again, be present, to trust the process instead of coming from expectation. So let me explain that. Many times we conduct our business and we live our lives from expectation. But what happens with expectation? It often goes unfulfilled. Why? Because we're trying to control something from limited beliefs that we can't control. We can't control other people. We can't control other situations. All we can control is ourselves and how we feel about something. So again, getting back to the manage yourself talk and regulating emotions we talked about from a growth mindset. But by being present, fear cannot reside, or it's minimized in the present moment. See, fear resides when your mind is operating in the past and the future. That's where limited beliefs thrive. They go back to the past, they come back, they then get projected into the future. So the mind is convinced that something has already happened that hasn't happened. And that fear in the future creates a level of anxiety. And then that anxiety then leads to worrying. And then worrying leads to not taking action, procrastination, being busy, but not productive, not focused on one thing at a time or the priorities that matter. This is where mindfulness is a solution to help get you present and to help get you out of the problem of limited beliefs and into the solution, which we're going to talk about. So what are some of the benefits of mindfulness? Well, we said earlier, clarity, the ability to be decisive, and also the ability to follow through. Again, in succession, from clarity to being decisive to following through. So let's take a look at, where you may be in your life, in your business. Now you can say to yourself, do you want to manage the problem or do you want to create the solution? Well, many people go through life managing the problem. They put Band-Aids on things and you can get by, just like an assembly line, right? You can produce widgets with bottlenecks in the assembly line. It's not going to be as efficient, not as productive, not to the best quality, but you can still produce. However, if you address the problem first and remove the bottlenecks, we can make it more efficient, more productive, and with better quality. It's the same thing with you, because if your business is going to become what you are, you have to become that first. So we rather look at, let's create the solution than manage the problem. So we got to incorporate certain things into our life to address the problem. And there are two things that will help you, that will change your life and business forever if incorporated on a daily basis. Now, it takes time. This is a process. Remember, if you live from expectation, okay, you're going to be tied to that, to things you can't control, and then oftentimes be let down. Maybe you don't even have a process to get there. If you focus on the process in the moment, controlling what you can, letting go of what you can't, the results that you seek are simply a byproduct of what you put into the process each day. It takes patience. So with that being said, the two habits that I like to emphasize here are meditation and journaling. Meditation gives you the ability to be present, so it takes time to get into the rhythm of doing it. And once you're in the meditative state, you have the ability to really now align the subconscious mindset with the conscious mindset. This is where everything that you do on a daily basis happens. It's at the subconscious level, not conscious. And when we have the ability to tap into the subconscious mindset over time, we can have the ability to find out what is holding us back, what is getting in our way, where did they come from? So it's getting to the root cause of those limited beliefs. And then when we journal right after, we're not going in with any agenda. We're just going in to write down whatever comes to mind. It may not make any sense. It might be a couple words. It may be 5 paragraphs. It doesn't matter. But when you journal and meditate every day, this is going to help you to get to the root cause of your limited beliefs. And then from there, to forgive the source. Now, in addition, as you move out of the problem into the solution, let's say that, like in my case, it was my father. I had to forgive my father, but I had to, most importantly, forgive myself, to know that I didn't need to operate my life and business from validation, that I, in itself, is who I am. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. And I'm going to focus on my strengths to offer the best possible value I can personally and in my business for my customers. And I began to leverage those strengths. But in order to really sustain that, I had to have new habits and disciplines that I did every day of my life and continue to this day, 20 plus years later, to operate in that solution. So other than meditation and journaling, you can incorporate other things that are good for you. It could be making your bed in the morning. It could be doing something that you accomplish, something relatively easy that gets your mind focused for the day. It could be exercise, eating a healthy breakfast, reading a business book or a professional development book. Not that you're reading the whole book, but like a chapter or two. These things that you do every day, these daily disciplines, are not only do they build your success foundation, but they sustain it for you to be laser focused through mindfulness and everything that matters in your business to accelerate it forward. So who are some of the peak performers that practice mindfulness? Well, some of these faces that you see, look, you recognize here, right? Richard Gere, Jerry Seinfeld, Mark Cuban, right? Mark Zuckerberg, LeBron James, Oprah Winfrey. These are just some examples. But you know what? These are people just like you and me. They're just people. The only difference here is that they use mindfulness and operate in the solution rather than the problem, because they learn from experience. If you were to ask them their professional opinion or about their, personally where they were and where they are today, they would tell you they went through their own struggles, their own situations in business. But this was a way to sustain it and be able to operate efficiently, not only through difficult and dark times, but also through, great times, because they could always see the opportunity and the blessing disguised in those challenges. And knowing that through the growth mindset, they could grow and learn to move forward. So this leads us to where we want to go. So when you operate from the solution and you now are incorporating certain habits and disciplines into now what you do in your business, it's now you got to incorporate that and begin to find more about how do you apply the why into what you do. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Think about the why in what you do. So what does that mean? So the why must mean is that, why do you do what you do in your business? Why did you make that decision to get into that particular business? And honestly answer that for yourself. Because if somebody got into the business because, I can make a lot of money, well, think about that. Is that going to be a sustainable model long-term? Probably not. There's got to be more to why you're doing what you're doing, something that resonates from your true being. Now, as I mentioned, I'll give you an example. My core values about myself and what are represented in my business as an executive coach, a professional speaker, corporate trainer, and some of the other side businesses that I have is, one, I'm transparent. See, being transparent and vulnerable was something, if you asked me 20 plus years ago, that would have never happened, especially as a male. But transparency and vulnerability are powerful, and they're a strength. And transparency to this day represents who I am as a person. What you see is what you get, no matter if I'm in the public or behind closed doors. Ask that about yourself. Be honest with yourself. Another core value would be integrity, meaning that, are you doing the right thing when no one's looking? I've made it for the last 20 years that I always do the right thing. And I'll give you an example of that. There was a time where I had a client or a potential client that came to me. They had heard about my coaching through another person, and they thought you might be the perfect person that you could help me in my situation in my business. And while I was listening to the person, I realized that, yes, I could help them, But as they were talking, as I was learning to relate and understand them, it came to me that there was somebody else that would be a better fit than me for them. So what I was doing here was I wasn't putting my best interest first. I was putting that person's best interest. Yes, I could help them, but not to the level I knew someone else could for their particular situation. And what I did is after the person talked and was asking me for recommendations, where to go next, I mentioned to them that I felt there would be someone that would be better suited for them other than myself. And I referred that person to someone else. Now, here's the thing. What I was operating from out of integrity was giving without expectation and receiving without resistance. What does that mean? Well, I'm giving without expectation, referring that person to someone that was a better fit, not expecting anything back from that person who came to me or the person I referred it to, not expecting. But knowing when it comes back from wherever it comes back, I'm receiving without resistance. I don't question where it came from. I receive without resistance. Now, think about that statement. It's pretty deep, it's pretty profound. But yet a lot of people hear it, but you'd be amazed that a lot of people don't really practice it or even apply it. It's hard for people to receive. Whether you know that or not, I've seen it happen over and over. But this is a concept as a trusted advisor that we have to adhere to accelerate our businesses. So here's what happened in that situation. It came back. 2-3 weeks later, whenever it was, somebody else came, and it was a better fit for me to help them help themselves. And it ended up being a win-win for everyone. Now, is that going to be the case every time? No. This could take a year. It could take 2 years. Who knows? But again, you're operating from integrity. So again, you got to ask yourself, what are your core values? This is what represents a trusted advisor and why you do what you do versus what you do. So what are some of the characteristics of a trusted advisor? Again, they're self-aware. They know themselves. They honor themselves. That they have the ability to give what they have that empowers others in a positive way to do for themselves. It's the greatest gift you can ever give someone. The ability to do it themselves within their capability. See, the thing is, the reality is a trusted advisor knows it, that no one can solve somebody's problem. Now, I know that might be sometimes a difficult thing for people to hear. Well, I do solve problems. Surgeons solve people's problems. Well, okay, yeah, surgeon can maybe get rid of a tumor. But here's the thing. Only the person that you're helping or assisting or consulting or providing a product to can only help themselves with your help, of course, but it's a two-way street. So as trusted advisors, we recognize from our core values and our strengths that we can guide and help others to help themselves, but they have to do their part to have the best experience from it. And as trusted advisors, we are aware of that through self-awareness. We're genuine. We follow our mission through our value statement that you're going to learn a little bit about later. It's knowing that it's not about your talent in itself, it's your heart. It's more heart than talent. Think about it. You look at, certain, like sports teams like the New England Patriots that have, on average talent. They don't have all superstars on their team. They're average guys. These are guys that might have been, maybe they weren't even drafted. Some of them might not even be starters on other teams. But why do they excel in the Patriot system? Because again, getting back to these core values, based upon their heart, an interdependent environment that they operate in, knowing their roles and responsibilities and being accountable for it, and trusting the process that we talked about. This is the difference. Talent in itself will not win games, not win championships, and not excel your business. It requires more, again, of the why you do what you do and how you interact with yourself and others in an interdependent environment. And that's, as trusted advisors, we're aware of that. We're focused on solutions, processes to results, not expectations and outcomes itself. We understand the process is what leads to results. And we're focused on relationships. That relationships in our sphere of influence, and cultivating that is what leads to repeat business and referrals. Attributes of trusted advisors. Well, again, we always play to our strengths. So again, we're not going to be great at everything, but yet we are great at other things. So it's looking at how can you leverage your strengths and offset your weaknesses. So if there is something in your business that plays to your weakness, maybe it's better to look at certain resources or other people where that's a strength that you can then leverage that with them so you can focus on what you're good at. In the long run, you're adding more value that way through your business, even if you have to pay for certain services that play to your weaknesses. It'll end up benefiting your business far more than if you're trying to cut corners to then get caught up in the things that you're not good at. It does affect the outcome of your business if you're focused on your weaknesses more than your strengths. It's treating staff with respect, from empathy and kindness, not from pleasing and enabling. One is interdependent, one is codependent. Focusing on the process for desired outcomes. Again, being true to your word and following through, and always looking for, for the solution, and inviting people to, come together regardless of who comes up with the idea to solve those problems. It's giving always and asking to receive often. And again, always coming from the example and empowering rather than managing others. Again, manage resources and systems, empower people, and lead by example. So impact over what you do. Well, again, to your customers, it provides greater trust and credibility. Again, you're leading by example. You're connecting based upon similar core values. So for instance, if you're a realtor and you're moving into the area and you have strong family values, and the people are investigating the area they're looking to move into, and they start reading on different resources in the community that they're planning to move. And they notice that they're reading some content from someone that they can relate to. And then in time, they find out, whoa, this person's a realtor too. Seems like they have strong family values. Now, that person may not be saying that to themselves consciously, but it's subconscious. There's 10,000 realtors in a 60-mile radius where these people are looking. Why are they going to pick that one person? Well, it's because that person connected on through some content in the local community from that person that was speaking to family values indirectly. And there's a trust factor. That person feels that they can relate to that person. They connected on the why, not what they did. Again, they're better people to build team rapport. It often leads to higher retention with skilled workers in your business. And again, it improves all areas of communication, shifting people over time from passive and aggressive communication styles, which would be codependent, to assertive, that you know your rights and responsibilities, being specific and clear in your communication, and not communicating from a place of assumptions and speculation. It creates an innovative and an energetic environment as well. Again, I see some questions coming in, and we're going to definitely answer everyone's questions here at the end. We're going to leave some time. Thank you for sending those in. So again, some more impact over your business. Again, you're more engaged and focused. See, when you're in the moment, in the present moment, you have the ability now to see what's important. What are the priorities that matter? You're not caught up in the busyness of the day with the things that are not productive. You are not multitasking. You're focused on one thing at a time, the priorities that matter first. And you're able to get more done being laser focused rather than, working around the clock. I know that's easier said than done. But how do you go about doing that? Well, see, trusted advisors have life and business strategies. They plan out their days. They plan out their businesses. They write down exactly what they know now that they can do every day for the rest of their lives. Again, remember those daily habits and disciplines we talked about. You could write that down that you could do for the rest of your life. You're not going to know everything, but they trust the process, knowing that the intelligence and the information they need to reach their goals, it will come in time. It's like having a puzzle, and you have a couple puzzle pieces in front of you to connect them. But as each new puzzle piece comes a week later, a month later, a quarter later, a year later, you plug it into your strategy to connect the dots that lead to the results. This is what trusted advisors do. They're not trying to control something they don't know or don't have. They focus on what they know now in the moment moving forward. And again, getting back to the clarity, being decisive and taking action, these are all the results that they're able to do by being laser focused. Okay, so example of a trusted advisor. So an example here, does anybody recognize this gentleman? This is Howard Schultz. I mean, he was the former CEO of Starbucks. So I want to give you an example why Howard Schultz is considered a trusted advisor in his business. See, when he started this business, he had a passion for coffee. He had a passion that not only did he want to serve quality coffee, but he wanted to create an experience that brought people together. And in a small little coffee shop in Seattle, it was an opportunity that people would come in and not just get a cup of coffee and run, but that they could come in, sit down, talk to other people. They could do their work, and it was like an office away from home or an office away from the office, so to speak. And as a result of that, it was based upon those values. Again, bringing people together. And another thing that drove Howard was that his dad at the time had been laid off, had taken a job. He had been laid off and then taken another job with the company that didn't provide benefits. This was around a time where companies were beginning to, do away with benefits. And as a result of that, this was very important to people because Howard always put people first. It was people capital, human capital versus just capital in itself. And he made a promise that was part of the value statement in that business that any employee who works for Starbucks would have benefits regardless if they work part-time or full-time. I don't know about you, but prior to the pandemic, when I used to go into a Starbucks, I would see the same people there for a long, long period of time. Now, if you went into another place like a Dunkin' Donuts, fast food restaurant, the turnover was like every week. Again, it gets back to values and higher retention, attracting people based upon those values. So what are the 5 I's to influence mastery? It's insight. It's the ability to kind of not only understand your business and your industry, but it's to understand why you do what you do in that business. And not only understand why you do what you do, but how do you apply it that adds value on a consistent basis to your audience, to your customers, to your prospects. It's the ability to take initiative, to be proactive, one step ahead of the curve, so to speak. That when you're operating in the solution, you're learning from your mistakes or any failures and taking that intelligence and finding new ways to make it better, being proactive rather than reactive. Again, it's changing that whole outlook and how businesses run. Instead of being reactive, being proactive. It's incorporating influence. So what's influence? It's not meaning that we're here to persuade some other people to buy from us or see our point of view. It's empowering people with information and intelligence based upon those values in addition to what you do that allows them to draw their own conclusion of what that means to them. See, you're never going to be everything for everyone, but you're going to be something for someone. And when you have the ability to do that and people buy from you, because people want to buy, they don't want to be sold, they are going to come to you based upon that connection, that relatability, they feel understood, those values we talked about. And when they do their part to have a good experience with your product or service, they're more likely to refer people. That's a sustainable business model. And when we're doing this, we're doing it always with impact. We're delivering value on a consistent basis. And again, if we're going to make these 4 I's, the first 4 I's stick and make them valuable to your business and others, we have to come from integrity, like we talked about before, doing the right thing when no one's looking. Trusting that statement, give without expectation, receive without resistance. So we look at some different content platforms for influence strategy. So again, think about your strengths and your weaknesses. Again, some of you might be in different types of businesses, but I want you to think now, how can you connect with your audience based upon your strengths? So let me give you an example. I'll use myself again, because this is how I can probably relate to everyone here. Even though I've written an international best-selling book in the area of mindset and emotional intelligence, I don't consider myself to be a writer. It took me almost a year to write my book, whereas, say, the average author probably could have done it in 3 months. It's not a strength of mine. It really took a lot for me to write that book. So would you think that I should be connecting with my audience through my writing on a consistent basis, writing more books? Now, I've been in a lot of books, but it's through other people's books as I contributed. But should I keep writing more books to connect with my audience and kind of bring out those values and connect with them on that level? No, that's not a strength. But yet speaking, training, mentoring, coaching, video, podcasts, radio shows, these are all things that I do that they're strengths of mine. That is where I use those platforms to leverage this content, contextual content that leads to action, that empowers people, that allows them to draw their own conclusion. And I do this consistently. And this is what drives people to my business. I'm not chasing them. I'm not out trying to, using some sales funnel or throwing ads in every direction to try to get people to come to me. It's providing content and displaying those values indirectly at a subconscious level that attract people to you. So what I'm looking to do is just to kind of, provide some information that allows to draw your own conclusion, what this means to you in a different way that you can now bring people to you and grow your business through referrals. Again, you got to ask yourself, what are those strengths? Could I leverage video? Can I leverage blogs, radio shows, TV, speaking? Now, these are just examples. There could be a lot more. Doesn't mean you're going to become a YouTube video star, or you're going to be on social media all the time, or you're going to be on radio shows all the time. No, it's again, finding out where is your audience and where can you add value? How do you connect with them through those values? Through content that helps them to help themselves. In the thick of things, people, I just want to be honest, people really don't care what makes you unique. They don't care what you do initially. They care about what's compelling to them. What is compelling to me? And when you can think along those lines with a growth mindset as a trusted advisor, we have the ability now to connect at a deeper level and relate and understand our audience that want to work with us. So what is your roadmap to growth as a trusted advisor? Well, you got to visualize your business roadmap. You have to accelerate your business growth. Again, we talked about clarity, better communication, the ability to execute. And when you're in a growth mindset and you're operating with a trusted advisor hat, again, trusted advisor is not a job, or it's just an action. We have the ability to really accelerate forward. So how do we make our business roadmap? Again, going back and assessing your current mission statement and value statement. We're going to talk about the value statement here shortly. You got to identify your objectives and goals and be very clear and specific. You need to assess your own values and principles, whatever that means to you, and how does that align with your business, and then how does that align with your audience. You have to identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. This is ongoing. And of course, be very clear with our core strategies. And again, be proactive, ahead of the curve, taking initiative, reviewing often, and moving forward. So what are your values? So again, you got to ask yourself, what do the values mean to you? What are they? How can now they be incorporated into your business? Again, this isn't about religion. This is not about politics. This is about your core values and principles. How can you incorporate this into your business and leverage platforms that we talked about to connect with people on a consistent basis to be in front of them? So you want to create a value statement. So once you know your own values, now you want to create a value statement for your business. You want to articulate, just like you would have a mission statement, not about what you do, not like an elevator pitch where you tell people what you do. A value statement it talks about why you do what you do and what's compelling to your audience, your industry, your customers, whatever, how you look at it. How does that relate to your mission? It's knowing your customers and your target audience and aligning with those people that share similar values. Again, you're never going to be everything for everyone. Stop thinking that way. Begin to look at, where can I connect on those values? Those people are going to become customers and they're going to refer people. It's understanding, through the value statement, how to create your influence factor, how this will impact your marketing, your PR, and having your marketing PR reflect that. What makes your product and service compelling, not what makes it unique. And unique means it's about you. If your website is talking about how you, and your marketing talks about you, it's not that. It's what's compelling to them. It's changing the wording. It's changing the connection. And do you help them to solve their problems? So it's, again, why you do what you do. Will it help them to solve their problems? Not that you solve their problems, that it helps them to solve their problems. So for the sake, these are just some examples here to give you an idea. Like, this is Dollar Shave Club. Probably some of you remember this organization. It was a small little company. They went on, had some infomercials, and then they had some commercials. And they achieved tremendous success in a short period of time. And the reason why they did it, because they were an organization, a small little company that, again, assessed a value statement. They started with the value statement. They started from their why. Each of the individual founders and co-founders came from their whys. The Mass Brothers Chocolate, again, I'm using some small companies. Some of you may not recognize this. Again, these are some other examples of people that it wasn't just the chocolate that they provided that made people happy or why their chocolate was delicious. It was, again, the why. There was those values. There's plenty of different chocolate people can buy. Why are they going to go to the Mass Brothers? It's, again, the why that brought their customers in, not just what they did. So some steps to successfully execute your growth: being consistent with your goals, trusting the process, using effective communication and active listening, tracking and reporting often, and using performance management to, praise and provide recognition to those that serve, and again, from a place of empathy and kindness, being interdependent versus codependent. And again, reward and remuneration where applicable. Again, using SMART goals, being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Again, the more specific our goals are, the more measurable they are, that they're attainable, they're realistic, and that we put time constraints. That allows us to follow our process that will lead to the results we seek. And again, we want to communicate clearly and specific, not from assumption and speculation. Paraphrase to make sure that you heard someone. They feel like you can relate to them. You feel that they feel understood before you offer recommendations. Affirm those goals and objectives. Be honest. Come from integrity. Put yourself in their shoes, so to speak. And again, using KPIs to track and measure performance. When you have the ability to position yourself with the right key KPIs to track not only what's going on internally in your business, but also with your customers, you're going to be able to quantify, again, how the why and what you do, is working for you and how this is helping to grow your business. But not just taking any KPIs, but finding the ones that will align with exactly why you're doing what you're doing. And again, these are some ideas that we'll just talk about the steps to create KPIs. Again, these slides will be made available to you. Again, devising measurable metrics, setting concise success objectives, setting good data parameters, and reviewing often. And with that being said, we'd like to have some questions here. I can, let's see here. Some of the questions now I can't see from the chat box. Again, Boris, if you see them, they are on there.
Yes, I do. The question is from Mike, says, does that make an individual passive, though, instead of being proactive?
Well,
if
again,
you could just respond to this.
Yeah, again, usually passive behavior, if I'm reading it, if I'm hearing it correctly, passive behavior, again, this is very common with many people worldwide. And it's, nothing wrong at all, but usually passive behavior is typically aligned with codependency. So again, a lot of this gets tied back to limited beliefs from childhood, again, often to a parent. Maybe perhaps the parent was dominant, or maybe, they didn't pay enough attention to the child. At least that's how it was perceived. And oftentimes this was what happened. So when we're passive, we will go out of our way to please and enable others to gain their validation. And then that often the person that's seeking, the people that are seeking you to please them, it will never be good enough. And so to the person that's pleasing and enabling, it becomes just an exhaustive process that doesn't really lead to anything productive. So the key is to break those patterns and to begin to shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. Meditation and journaling every day is the way to get to the root cause. Adopting new habits and disciplines that will help you then to start reshaping how you interact with people, but first interacting with yourself to gain your level of confidence and self-esteem. And then from there, you have the ability now to set boundaries through empathy and kindness to communicate in an interdependent way versus a codependent way. And then by being the example, be more value to people than the other way around. Some people, it may rub people the wrong way because they're used to people giving in to them and pleasing them, but that's their problem, not yours. And it's the same thing in the workplace. Again, that in the long run, people change when they want to change, and they change oftentimes when they see other people doing things that are good for them, not what has been told to them. Any other questions, Boris?
Yes, there is a question from, I believe it's from George. Chris, what are some ways to find a trusted advisor? The only thing before you answer, I can only offer considering SCORE as a trusted advisor. It's probably a good thing because we have experts in many, many fields, and we're totally objective and respect the privacy. And it's something for people that need some trusted advisor. It's something to consider.
No, absolutely. A trusted advisor is not a job. It's not a position. It's a role. It's an action in itself. So a trusted advisor could be anyone. It could be a realtor. It could be somebody who runs a plumbing supply store. It could be whatever. It's tied to any profession, again, based upon why we do what we do versus what we do. When we can change our thinking from why we do what we do to what we do, we begin to see all the possibilities, all the opportunities. We begin to take risks that we've never had before. We begin to understand we're not everything for everyone, and that we connect with people on similar values and principles to grow our businesses and to then get ahead that way rather than just, throwing mud at a wall, so to speak. So a trusted advisor, again, is an action and can be applied to any type of business. And again, it's looking at these people for not what they say, but why they do what they do. It's those values.
There is a follow-up from Mike. I asked my questions with regard to Chris recommending that we receive without resistance, and that goes to all of us. So, do you want to elaborate on that, Chris?
Can you say it again? Because I was just typing a question. Somebody typed me a question, and I'm just answering. Yep, go ahead. Say it again.
Yeah, I asked my question with regard to Chris recommending that we receive without resistance. His questions was, does that make an individual passive through passive instead of being proactive?
No, like I said, if I heard the question, if you receive without resistance, okay, that's actually a good thing. That's the laws of prosperity. The laws of prosperity is simply you're giving without expectation, receiving without resistance. There is plenty of abundance out there. So in terms of being passive would mean that we give, but yet we have a hard time receiving. It's easy for us to give because we need the validation, whatever you're looking for, but you're not receiving something that's actually more healthy for you. Again, and we're not talking about just money here. We're talking things that actually serve you in a healthy, positive way. It doesn't have to be money in itself. So this isn't all about just growing your business for just money. This is growing your business based upon, again, for the difference you make in people's lives, the difference in what you make in your communities, and differences you make in your industry. So if I had more time than just an hour, I would have got into a lot more detail. But again, we just wanted to create the awareness. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, there is one more that kind of interesting and questions that I would like to get to get an answer from you. It's from Julie. Chris, thank you. Practicing mindfulness to help myself, which in turn will help me grow my business. How do I learn more about this? And what's the name of your book?
Okay, great. Thank you. And I did put the name of the book there, Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. That would be a start. Again, there are many resources out here, but, I'm also available at www.christophersalem.com. You're more than happy to reach out. There's no obligation whatsoever. I'd be happy to look at where you're at and provide some direction. Of course, SCORE is a great place as well. SCORE, myself and SCORE work together on many different levels to, help people. And again, look at this as a foundation for your business going forward. That you could build a beautiful home, but if it's on a faulty foundation, it's not going to sustain itself. So make sure your foundation is solidified. And when you have that that quality foundation established, then you can build that beautiful home, in this case, a beautiful business that will sustain itself, as long as that you're showing up each and every day in your business, trusting the process.
Great. I have another one that's kind of interesting. That's from Janet. In my business, I have big weaknesses in business processes, self-discipline, and marketing. Is it advisable to partner with someone to cover my weaknesses?
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend that. Again, I know many businesses may not be in position because times are tough, but if you look at your business plan and look at it the long haul, that sometimes if you can find someone that can offset your weaknesses, that's necessary to help sustain and grow your business, it's worth it. Because if it frees you up to focus on what you're good at, it's just going to add more value. Now, if you're just trying to save a little bit of money here and there, and you get caught up in all the things that you're not good at, now you're not really adding value to others, and you're not adding value to yourself or your business.
That's great. Well, thank you, Chris. I think we're approaching to final bell. And I just want to remind everybody
that recording of this seminar, webinar for this matter, and the materials I'm going to be, I think they're going to be available in a couple of days on the fairfieldcounty.score.org website. So, and you can also find on our website the information on all upcoming webinars. Also, I would like to kind of reiterate the fact that we have free individual counseling, and it's actually simple nowadays. You go on our website and click request a mentor, and fill out the all the questions and in the form there, and we'll go from them. You'll be contacted within 48 hours, and we'll find you appropriate business mentor. And nowadays we're available the sessions via the phone, email, video, and the last one, we would like to fill out our evaluation forms that have been sent to you at the end of the webinar. And so it's important for us so we can evaluate not only the presenter, but any other suggestions and criticism, comments. So we really appreciate that. So on behalf of the our SCORE chapter, I would like to thank you all for attending today's SCORE's live webinar. And a big thanks to Chris for being a presenter today. Elliot Tarlin, our webinar coordinator, and the partners, Darien Library. Have a nice day, everybody, and stay safe and well.